Hello everyone, so this video is going to be about swapping weapons quickly without Quickdraw. So let's get started. So the main applications of this is going to be for doing damage to immobile bosses like Nutanix, although you can also apply it in other places like in Crucible, switching between your primary and your special weapon to get farther ranges with your shotgun, or clean up kills with your sniper rifle. No matter what though, pretty much anybody can do it, and you'll find uses for it a lot of places, so it's a good skill to know. So I'll start off with the main Nutanix DPS option that most people use, which is double slug Anarchy, and how you would actually use that. So the way the Nutanix damage phase works is you have the damage area that you jump into and do damage from, and the boss will occasionally kick you out. If you did 4-ball, he'll kick you out twice for a total of 3 segments. If you do anything else, you'll have a total of 2 segments and be kicked out once. So that's what I'm referring to when I say booped out. So when you're first jumping into the Nutanix phase, you'd want to shoot him twice with your Anarchy. Anarchy won't tick any more than having 2 of these, like you won't get more damage, so you just do the 2. After that, you'll want to switch to your shotguns and go back and forth. So there's 2 ways to do this. One would just be to go back and forth while holding both your clicks, which can be kind of slow, but it's still faster than just shooting one. See? But if you really want to do the most damage with this loadout that you can do, you need to do something called hotswapping, which is using your sprinting animation to cancel your drawing animation. So what that looks like, you can really see it when you aim your weapon and you hold it. If you sprint right after switching weapons, it draws your weapon really quickly, see? And again, you can see it really clearly when you're holding your aims key. So if you do this, and you hold your fire and your aim key at the same time, you'll be able to shoot it a lot faster. See? So doing that allows you to dump all of your slug ammo even with 2 shotgun reserves for a total of 41 slugs, which is quite a bit of damage. So now that you've seen the animations and what they look like, we can talk about how you can do it. So for most people, the easiest way to do a swap between 2 weapons, a double swap like this, would be to just use a button for the swap weapons key binding. So if we scroll through here, you can see there is a switch weapon key binding in here. It is right here, this thing. So I have mine bound to my side mouse button, but anything you'd like, pressing this button goes back and forth between your first and your second weapon, your kinetic and your energy. So easiest thing you could do is basically just every time you press that, shortly after, you just sprint and forward and then let go immediately, very quickly, and doing that will cancel most of the animation of pulling out your weapon. That's it. So now, what if you want to take this to the next level? Going past double slug Anarchy generally isn't necessary because it only takes 3 or 4 people using double slug Anarchy to 1-phase Nutanix, which is mainly where that loadout is used. But maybe you just want to be cool and go even beyond that. So now what I'll show is the triple swap. So that is cycling between all 3 of your weapons. So the main weapons you'd want to use for this would again be 2 slug shotguns, probably the Heritage and the first and last out just because of their amazing perks, and a couple of options here. I would choose either a legendary grenade launcher or the Xenophage. So the thing about the grenade launcher is it does a lot of damage per shot, like more than the Xenophage, and it has auto loading holster, which is awesome. Also with 3 legendaries you can have boss spec, which is just extra damage. So on your grenade launcher, this is the only one that can get this roll, the full court perk, which adds extra damage for distance. Ideally you'd basically want this roll, but you'd want spike nades in this column, which I still haven't been able to get. Rip dude. So the easiest way to do a triple swap is actually very similar to the double swap. And what I mean is that there's actually a key that can allow you to do it. From this point forward though, nothing here is probably possible on console, unfortunately. So This is all going to be mouse and keyboard keys. Anyway, if we look for the previous weapon keybind, here it is. You can see I have mine set to 4, and obviously the scroll wheel. I don't like to use the scroll wheel, so I have another one set here, although my scroll wheel still works. So what this does is it just goes down your weapons list every time you press it, see? So obviously you can use this for hot swapping and have the result be like this. So shooting it, you can actually do it pretty quickly. See? But we can make it even better. So once you start going beyond just 2 weapons, handling starts to become a big deal. Even though you're canceling most of the animation with your hot swap, there is actually still a slight animation, and handling will reduce it. So I'm going to put on a huge handling boost with the Dragon's Shadow just to show that it makes it much faster. See? So after you go beyond 2 weapons, handling becomes very important. When you look into the technical aspects of hot swapping, basically you're limited by how fast guns fire and how much handling you have. When you're only doing 2 weapons, you're hitting the fire rate limit way before you're hitting the handling limit. But once you start adding more weapons, the fire rate limit gets higher, so you need more handling to keep up with it. With a triple swap though, you don't need Dragon's Shadow, but you do need maybe dexterity mods on your gauntlets. There's also a arc mod, charge with light mod, called Swift Charge, which can give you a little bit, or not Swift Charge, my bad. It is called Quick Charge, well that's similar, and it can give you some more ready speed for shotguns. It's not a ton, but having a little bit extra helps. Ophidian aspects are a great option, as well as the updated Aeon versions have a handling perk actually. So since most of these methods are mainly for Nutanix damage, or like, you know, an immobile boss where you're always hitting headshots in some way, you can use this. Rapid hits with a weapon temporarily increase your reload and weapon swap speed, and it's a pretty good boost. And there's one last method that won't work on Titan, but it will work on the other 2 classes with stasis, and that is the Whisper of Impedance. Your stasis melees reload your stowed weapons and grants you a boost to ready speed. And it's a really big boost actually. It's almost as much as Dragon's Shadow. So we have one more swap method for the Slug shotguns, and that is called the quad swap. And I already know what a lot of people are thinking. How do you have a quad swap with 3 weapons? Well, it's called quad because of this sequence. So the quad swap involves using a heavy weapon with a higher RPM than your Slug shotguns. Around double is what it needs to be. So the Xenophage is a great one because it also has a magazine that is twice as big too. So what the quad swap essentially does is it's a order of switching your weapons that shoots the heavy twice as often versus a triple swap. So the sequence is 1 3 2 3, 1 3 2 3, 1 3 2 3 on a big chain. So I can show what that looks like here, and then how you can do it quickly. So you have to remember, the longer your sequences get, the more important that handling becomes. So quad swap is probably the most advanced version you can do without something like Dragon's Shadow or Whisper of Impedance active, which are rather short-term boosts. Any class can quad swap using the Aeon gauntlets with this Sect of Force and dexterity mods on their arms. You can see I have the setup here right now. Just put one for shotgun and one for machine gun. So quad swap is, as far as I've been able to tell, the most powerful method of doing damage to Nutanix. It beats double slug Anarchy, it beats Izzy swaps, which I'll cover soon, it beats everything. It beats double slug Anarchy by about 400,000 damage, and it's about 500,000 damage right now because of focusing lens, but that's only for this season. Once this season's over, it'll be back down to 400,000. So here's what a quad swap looks like. So you'll notice the Xeno was used twice as often. Now, that was with absolutely zero handling perks, so it was really slow, not even close to the fire rate limit. But if we put on some handling boosts, you can see it get a lot faster. There it is. The way I do it is I actually just use my 1, 2, and 3 keys. And I basically have to switch my index and my middle finger around to do the 3 and then the 1 and the 2. So I use my middle finger on 1 and 2 and my index on W, and then when it's time to do 3, I switch my fingers, so my middle finger's on W and my index finger's on 3. And it kind of looks like the Broadway kicking dance. I'll show a clip of it with the hand cam soon. What you literally have to tell your game to go to weapon 3 and hot swap it, and then go to 2 and hot swap it, and then go back to 3 and hot swap it, and then back to 1 and hot swap it, and so on. So it's a pretty hard thing to master, but if you get used to it, you can be pretty consistent with it. It's actually what I used to do damage on my 3-man, and it got us a 2-phase. So that was pretty cool, because in 3-mans you don't get to 4-ball, so you also have the shorter damage phases. One last thing to note about Quad Swap is that you won't have Anarchy for the utility things, such as taking down the bombs from Nutanix, or for defeating ads. While you can use Xeno for Warmind cells, that can be a little bit inconsistent. Although it's still just a lot more damage if you're able to do a good quad swap, especially if you have good handling boosts. So it's up to you what you want to do, but honestly dude, quad swapping looks really cool, so who wouldn't want to do it? So now what I'm going to cover is long distance swapping. So basically these are things that you don't need to use slug shotguns for. The main key around this is Izzy's and a auto loading heavy. So these are basically going to be forms of Izzy swapping. So the first one is just a simple heavy and Izzy swap. On Garden, a lot of people use the Wendigo grenade launcher because it does an insane amount of damage when you pick up orbs, and you can just like spam wells and put orbs everywhere. And the other method, the current one now that we have this rocket launcher buff, is actually using a rocket launcher. It's very strong too, and it can pretty much keep up with Wendigo almost. If you have even like one little flaw in Wendigo, the rocket launcher passes it, but otherwise the Wendigo still does more. So the whole idea here is basically shooting a rocket, switching to Izzy, shooting the shot, setting up your next one, and then switching back in time for the auto-loading to be on. So that's why it's important to have the auto-loading holster. So you can see lasting impression also just gives you more damage per shot, and because this is again for immobile bosses, there's pretty much no reason not to have this unless you're dealing with very short damage phases, in which case you wouldn't want it. But you always want the auto-loading holster for switching weapons. So, as far as your armor perks are concerned, you actually don't want sniper loaders, because if you reduce the time it takes to reload the Izanagi's, it will have you back on your rocket launcher before it has auto-loaded, and it will waste time. So you don't want loaders, you just want dexterity. And the snapshot mods are more optional, but I still have them on just to be optimal. This also doesn't need serious amounts of handling because this isn't nearly as fast as something like slug swapping, which is like a constant stream. This is more of a way to have good uptime and deal damage with multiple weapons at the same time from a long distance. You want to start off by pre-charging your Izzy, and then your first shot actually comes with the rocket launcher. You want to shoot it, switch to the Izzy, shoot it, reload. Once you hear the noise, go back to the rocket, Izzy, reload, for the noise, shoot it, Izzy, reload. There you go. But if you want to take this to the next level, you introduce a third weapon, which is again probably that distant tumulus, this one right here. This one is a perfect one with the reload masterwork, tactical mag, clown and firing line. So if you want to add the tumulus to it, you would again want to lead off with a bigger mag if you're able to, although it's not as big of a deal this time. And what you do is you start doing faster swaps. So you shoot the rocket, Izzy, reload, and then shoot, shoot, shoot. Oh, I didn't shoot it, whoops. Oh dude, there's a delay. There you go. That's it. So you want to go from rocket to Izzy, shoot, reload it, shoot, shoot, shoot. It takes 3 shots, and back to the rocket. I bet you thought that quad swap was the most you can do, but no, I discovered something new. So, well, I think I discovered something new. Maybe somebody came up with it before, but I couldn't find anything, so I think I made something new, which is pretty cool. So this is called Quin Swapping, which is a sequence of 5 weapons instead of 4. Again, you only use 3 weapons, but the sequence is 5 long, because you're now shooting your energy and your heavy twice as often as your kinetic. And it also shoots like more bullets than quad swap. So this one requires so much handling that you literally have to have Dragon Shadow or Constant Whisper of Impedance, so it is pretty much restricted to Hunter only, which is why I'm filming this on a Hunter instead of a Warlock with Ophidians or something like that. So here's the Quint Swap. I just figured this out, so I'm not the most consistent with it, but man does it look cool.